Yeah, what's good though? You already know who it is though. It's that nigga with a fro. What's poppin', everybody? My name is Twit, and I am your coach for the Grand Canyon Greninjas. Yeah, what's good though? You already know who it is though. It's that nigga with a fro. What's poppin', everybody? My name is Twit, and I am your coach for the Grand Canyon Greninjas. Now, we are here today for our week number 2 prep, of course, going up against the King Nappy and the Tucson Terrakions. Now, I want to do a little bit of analysis from last week. I'll just do quick analysis from last week. I meant to do a video for it, but I was really busy. So I promise you guys you will have an analysis video for this week after this battle. You guys will have an analysis video. I will hook you up. I will hook all of you up and we'll make it happen. I promise, I promise, I promise. So that'll be going up hopefully on Sunday, if not at the latest on Monday. But let's just talk about last week's battle for a little bit here, because there were some mistakes. I will admit there were some mistakes that happened last week, and I want to just sit here and break down some of the mistakes that happened. I know there was a lot of people saying, you know, you made a ton of really bad misplays and such, and you have to take into consideration for this being the first league that I'm in, and this doesn't give me the right to be able to just make those mistakes freely. And of course, I was not allowed. I just hit my headset over there. I was not allowed to make my mistakes freely, because as you guys see, I did in fact lose the battle to Jay, because I want to honestly attribute them to the fact that we did in fact lose we did in fact make a lot of mistakes in that battle. But it is not the end of the world. It was week 1. And that did go over to Jay. It's alright though. But I want to break down some of my mistakes and let you guys know that a lot of those mistakes were made just off of fear, basically just off of nerves. Because like I said, this was my very first ever league match. It was the first week of the UCL. So I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty nervous going into the very first week. On top of that, I didn't have a ton of prep time for Jay's team. I mean, I did bring a team that in reality, sitting down and looking at it on paper, should have been no problem at all for Jay's team, but I just didn't have a lot of prep time. I wanted to get a lot more practice in competitive battling since I had been kind of out of the game for so long. And you guys know that the week before the week of the first week of the UCL, I had just gotten back from SGC, so you guys know I had to get videos. I had my mind set on other things, and then I had to kind of cram all of my prep in to a very short amount of time, and that tends to not really work out. But you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. I'm not gonna sit here and say, all right, that car was really loud. But anyway, I'm not gonna sit here and say that I lost to Jay because I just made bad plays but he's a bad player or anything like that. He actually did play a lot of things very, very well. For example, keeping his Victini, the Scarf Victini, which again I didn't take into consideration. I didn't take that into account because one of those things, like I said, I just didn't have enough prep time, and I was kind of like out of my element a little bit, if that makes any sense. So again, I apologize for letting the Afro knots down. But don't worry though, the Grand Canyon Greninjas will pick it up. We will make it a good match. It was still a good match with Jay. I was just kind of trying to get my bearings for battling again, and it is what it is. So we're going to move on now to this week's battle, week number 2 of the UCL, and like I said, we are up against Nappy and the Tucson Terrakions. Now, Nappy has one pretty scary team, in my opinion. He's got some pretty terrifying Pokemon, especially for my team. Now, I'm going to pop up the Pokemon Showdown screen here in just a sec for you guys, because a lot of you guys were asking me to do that in the last prep video. And again, the reason I didn't do that in the last prep video is because I didn't have time to put it all together, if that makes any sense. So it's all good. We're going to have it this time. We have plenty of time. I went ahead and did it ahead of time, and because I want to give you guys the best quality product that we can, and I want the Grand Canyon Greninjas to come through and make it happen for you guys. So, taking a look at Nappy's team, he is going to be rocking out with a Gengar, Gardevoir, Chansey, Rotom Heat, Crocodile, Lucario, Gastrodon, Flygon. He made a trade with, I believe it was Luke, for the Tangela, or he traded the Tangela that he used to have on his team for the Weezing from Luke. So now he has a Weezing, Cradily, and a Swellow. Now, just looking again at these picks compared to the Pokemon that I have on my team, looking at his picks, honestly, I'm looking at the Gengar. I'm looking at the Gardevoir to be brought, because the Gardevoir checks my the Gardevoir checks my Altaria pre Mega Evolution, but the Gengar also checks the checks my Altaria pre Evolution and post Mega Evolution. So the Gengar is like a must-have for him. The Gardevoir at this point, honestly, is pretty much a must-have, and the Chansey wall is just. He has to have a Chansey wall. So I'm looking at, we're probably looking at the Chansey, the wall core of Chansey Weezing, or maybe the wall core of Chansey Gastrodon. He could also run a pretty bulky Gengar. I mean, I don't really see him running the substitute Focus Punch. Or is it Focus Punch? I'm pretty sure sub Focus Punch Gengar. But I do know that I have to really take into consideration the things that he's gonna bring, because I know Nappy is known, like I know Nappy, and he likes to bring random stuff. Like he likes to bring, what is it, Icy Wind Gengar, you know what I mean? Like he likes to bring weird stuff like that. So I've really got to be careful, and I've really got to play to the best of my ability, like I plan to do every single week. But I've really just got to be careful with his team, because like I said, I really feel like he's gonna bring some really interesting picks here, and we're just gonna have to be really careful. So let's go ahead and break down the team that I've got for him and the Pokemon that I think he's gonna be bringing, and why these Pokemon are what we have. So the first Pokemon you guys see here is going to be King, the Nidoking, and I kind of went with I kind of went with, like, so you guys might see the names. I kind of went like semi like Game of Thrones, semi Skyrim. You know, we got King, Queen, Mage, Graveyard for all the dead Pokemon. We have the Jester and the Warrior. It's kind of a mixture of both. You know, I was trying to have a little theme to my team here. But so we have Nidoking. We're going to have a Choice Specs Nidoking. Now, the Choice Specs Nidoking, at this time that I'm recording this might be something that I end up swapping around, because one thing we ran into in the last match was we didn't have a Pokemon that was it just wasn't fast enough, you know what I mean? So I'm honestly thinking this Choice Specs Nidoking might be swapped to a Choice Scarf Nidoking. But we do see that we have ourselves a Rash Nature Nidoking, which is plus special attack, minus special defense, which is why I say we might want to just run a Scarf Nidoking. But being Rash Nature, we might just leave it how it is, because we aren't going to be timid. Timid Choice Scarf isn't really the best. Timid Choice Scarf, excuse me, Timid Choice Scarf would be probably the better choice, because we'd be absolute max speed. But the thing is, a Choice Scarf and Rash Nature might not be what we want here. We still have we are pretty bulky here. We have 248 HP. We have 8 in the attack stat, and then we have 252 in the special attack. So it's one of those things where it's like, you know, I guess honestly this 8 points right here could probably be spec'd into speed, to be honest with you, which is not really that big of a deal. It's not really gonna make a whole lot of difference. A couple points might make a difference, but looking at his team, I mean, the Nidoking doesn't outspeed the Gengar, it does not outspeed the Gardevoir. It would outspeed the Chansey, and I'm not too worried about that. The Rotom, I believe it would outspeed, because the base speed of Rotom, I want to say the base speed of Rotom is 80 or 81 or something like that. It's like a really weird number. The Crocodile, I don't think we outspeed the Crocodile. I'm just gonna pull up another team here. I'm gonna pull up just a blank team here. Just look at the speeds. Let's see. The Crocodile base speed is actually 92, so we definitely do not outspeed that. I'm going just specifically off base speed. The Weezing we outspeed the Weezing for sure. The Swellow, I believe, does outspeed us. So yeah, Swellow base speed of 125. And then the Rotom, I want to double check. The Rotom's base speed is actually 91. Actually, no, excuse me. Rotom Heat base speed is actually 86. So he outspeeds us by 1 point there, base speed. So it is what it is. Like, it's not the end of the world. That's the wrong team. I didn't want to bring this team up. It's not the end of the world, so it is what it is. But like I said, the Nidoking has a couple of things I've got to worry about. I feel like he's going to bring, for example, I feel like he's going to bring the Icy Wind Gengar again. I feel like the Gengar is also going to have T-Bolt. Definitely going to have the Shadow Ball, and I'm thinking Dazzling Gleam. I'm thinking Dazzling Gleam is what he's going to run. I really don't see him running too many other crazy things to deal with my team, but at the same time, I don't know what he's planning for me to bring. So that's that. So we're going to move on, and of course, we have Queen, the Mega Altaria, that will be make another return. At this point, it's one of those things where it's like I don't think I could go into any of these battles without Mega Altaria. It is hands down the strongest Pokemon that I have on my team. Just base stats, especially after that. After the Mega Evolution, as far as the physical stat goes, after that Mega Evolution, it is literally the strongest Pokemon that I have. So there's no way, and I'm pretty sure that most teams in this season or in the league are probably gonna be ready and willing to take on this Altaria. They're going to put something on their team to deal with the Altaria, so I've got to kind of account for that as well. But on this Altaria set, we are going to have an actually good set this time. Last time, like I said, I didn't really have a lot of time to do what I needed to do, and it is what it is, though. So on this moveset, we have Roost, Double Edge, Dragon Dance, and Earthquake. Now, what we did switch up here is last time we had Return instead of Double Edge, and we also had Flamethrower for a little bit of coverage instead of Roost. Now, I definitely wanted to get rid of the Flamethrower because I just don't think, especially looking at Nappy's team, we don't really need the Flamethrower on our team. There's really nothing on his team outside of the Lucario, who would be affected, you know, pretty roughly by the Flamethrower, the Lucario, because he's part steel. But everybody else on his team could take a Flamethrower, no problem. And it's just really, I mean, especially when I'm not spec'd into special attack at all, it's just not worth it to me. It's just not worth it to have that Flamethrower for a little bit of coverage when he doesn't even have anything on his team outside of the Lucario, which we have Earthquake for that. So the Roost is going to be big because we do have the Double Edge, and we're going to take a lot of damage from the recoil, because once we Mega Evolve, if we get off a D-Dance or if we get off a Double Edge, that is going to do so much damage, and we're going to take a ton of damage from it as well. So the Roost is going to come in pretty clutch right there. We are running this thing Adamant Nature, Max Attack, Max Speed, and a little bit of Specarinos in Special Defense. Now, again, it's going to be one of those things where I don't really, like, the Gengar checks me, the Gardevoir, well, pre-evolution, the Gardevoir checks me, so this is going to have to be one hell of a clean swap for the Altaria, but the Gardevoir definitely does check me. The Chansey is just a wall in general, but at the same time, it's like, dealing with a Chansey isn't too bad, especially when I have some of the other Pokemon on my team, which I'll show you in a moment. So dealing with a Chansey won't be the worst thing in the world. On top of that, if we think the Chansey is going to go for a Seismic Toss or so, or a Body Slam or something like that, we do have the Cofagrigus on our team to take care of that. But before we get to the Cofagrigus, let me go ahead and swap over to our next Pokemon. I mean, the Altaria is pretty normal stuff to run on an Altaria here. Natural Cure Altaria Knights, and that's the moveset, so I don't really have much else to say about that because, like I said, Altaria is probably going to be a pretty staple Pokemon for our team, so it is what it is. So next up, we have Mage the Alakazam. Yes, Alakazam is returning this week as well. Hopefully, we can put it to better use, and we'll see what happens. We are running a Timid Nature, Max Speed, a Max Special Attack Alakazam here with a Focus Sash and Magic Guard, Dazzling Gleam, Psychic, Energy Ball, and Focus Blast. Now, this is another one of those things where I feel like replacing Psychic with Psyshock would be a lot better for me. But at the same time, again, looking at his team, so if I want to put Psyshock on here, looking at his team, who's defensive? We have Chansey that's defensive. Rotom, I'm pretty sure, is quite defensive. Crocodile, not too terribly defensive, but it does work, you know what I mean? We have Lucario, which we're going to hit hard with Psyshock or Psychic regardless. We have Gastrodon as well, which is really defensive, and that's going to be one of those Pokemon that's going to be really tough for us to get around. Flygon, I'm not too worried about. Honestly, I don't really see him bringing the Flygon. Maybe he would, but I honestly don't really see him bringing the Flygon because he's going to have the Gengar and the Gardevoir to pretty much take care of that Dragon typing. He doesn't want that extra weakness on his team, so I don't know if he's going to bring the Flygon. We will see, though. We will see, because he does know that we have the Nidoking with Ice Beam. We have Jester, the Empoleon with Scald, and with Ice Beam as well. So it's like, I don't, maybe he wants to bring the Flygon to play a little cheeky, but who knows? I'm not really planning for him to bring the Flygon, but if he does, we do still have things to deal with this, so I'm not really too worried about that. But looking at the rest of his team, Psyshock is pretty much going to hit everything on his team, but at the same time, so will Psychic. So it's just one of those moves. It's just one of those things where Psyshock does 80 damage, Psychic does 90 damage, and you know that extra little bit of damage may be what we need, but it's one of those things, like, he doesn't have too many super specially defensive Pokemon on his team. Well, I guess he does have quite the few. He's got a nice mix of Pokemon. So honestly, we're just gonna stick with Psychic for right now. The other thing we're gonna take into consideration here is the Energy Ball, and I want to talk about the Energy Ball because he does have the Gastrodon, and the Energy Ball is gonna body bag the Gastrodon. Like, that's gonna be all she wrote for Gastrodon. The Quillfish, not so much, because that will be neutral damage. And the only thing is here, the only downside to the Energy Ball is that I'm taking Energy Ball trying to account for the Gastrodon. So I'm taking the Energy Ball basically to attempt to take care of the Gastrodon. In my opinion, it's a very questionable pick. I'm not gonna lie, because if we end up having Energy Ball in this thing instead of Dazzling Gleam, we could really mess ourselves up here. But at the same time, if he does bring the Gastrodon, which I feel he is, if he does bring the Gastrodon, the Energy Ball will come in so absolutely clutch for us that, I mean, it's just gonna come absolutely clutch for us. Like, that's all there is to it, to be honest with you. So it's like, I'm really on the fence about the Energy Ball, just because, like I said, you know, this is me putting Energy Ball in the Alakazam is specifically for the Gastrodon, and I really don't like to. I said we have to get rid of Dazzling Gleam. That's not what I meant. Because we have Dazzling Gleam, we have Psychic, we have Energy Ball, Focus Blast. What I meant was the Shadow Ball, not the Dazzling Gleam. Sorry about that. But what I was saying is the Gastrodon. I don't like choosing a move specifically for a Pokemon like Gastrodon, but at the same time, it will be so clutch if it works out correctly for us. Now, he does have a Gengar on his team, though, and this is another thing that I'm really worried about, is that he does have the Gengar. So the Focus Blast, I'm thinking, should be swapped out for example, a Shadow Ball. Now, the Focus Blast would hit the Lucario, would hit the Chansey as well, which is another reason why I'm like, I don't know if I want to get rid of Focus Blast, because he does have a Chansey on his team. But, of course, we do have Warrior on our team, who is a physical attacker, who is a fighting type Pokemon, and will have those stab fighting type moves. But it's just like, it's just one of those things, like, it's really hard for me to choose what I want to do here, because we could Shadow Ball for the Gengar for the Gardevoir. The Shadow Ball would also cover actually, honestly, it just covers the Gengar and the Gardevoir, whereas Focus Blast would cover the Chansey, it would cover the Crocodile and the Lucario. I know I'm thinking about it, I guess the Focus Blast is a better option. I'm just not used to running Alakazam without a Shadow Ball. It just makes me feel a little bit more comfortable having the Shadow Ball, but you know what? Playing a little bit outside your comfort zone is good once in a while, so we're okay with that. Moving on to the next Pokemon, though. By the way, you guys, I said it already, but max attack, max special attack, max speed on the Focus Sash Alakazam here with Magic Guard. Moving on to the next Pokemon, we have Graveyard the Cofagrigus here. So, on the Cofagrigus, I was really on the fence at what I wanted to do with the Cofagrigus, because we can run this thing physical, or physically defensive, we can run this thing specially defensive, and it's one of those things where it's like, what does Nappy think I'm going to run this as? You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of times, most of the Cofagrigus that you see played are going to be extremely physically defensive. So if I catch him off guard and make him swap into something that's going to be hitting me on the special side, and I max special attack, or excuse me, max special defense, I feel like that's going to catch him off guard a little bit. So we're going to run max 248 HP, 8 in attack for the knockoff, and then 252 in the special defense. And of course, you see the moveset here: Shadow Ball, Will-O-Wisp, Pain Split, and knockoff. Now the knockoff, like I said, is going to be one of those things to take care of Chansey. In the off chance that we do run into a physical attacker, which will be really nice for me to get the Mummy ability left over. We have the leftovers, and we get the Mummy ability transferred over to that Pokemon. That's going to be really clutch. So the Cofagrigus is just going to have to be played really well. The knockoff is going to have to be, like, it's one of those things where knockoff is going to be super clutch, but I'm going to have to make sure that I play everything really, really good, because I feel like Nappy is going to be on his toes. He's going to be dotting his I's and crossing his T's on his pins and needles, you know what I mean? So I've got to really play it correctly. But the Pain Split, the Will-O-Wisp Pain Split set, really annoying to deal with. You know, it's just one of those things, like, again, if you play it correctly, if I can read him like a book, we can make it happen and come out with the W just off of the stall game. As long as we treat this Cofagrigus correctly and we use him correctly, we shouldn't have any problems at all. But like I said, the Willow is going to come in handy, because I want to say on the on the in the Rotom last week, the week 1, I had Toxic on the Rotom, and I should have. It would have made a lot more sense, and it would have been a lot better for me to have Willow on the. I want to say, well, did I have Willow on it? Maybe I had Willow. Maybe I was thinking I needed Toxic. I think on last week I was saying I really wanted to have Toxic, or I was thinking I really wanted to have Toxic instead of the Willow. I don't know. Like I said, I had a lot of. I didn't really have a lot of prep time for last week, so just work with me here. Just work with me here. I don't have a whole lot of prep time for that, but it's whatever. But we do have the Willow on the Greninjas here, which is going to come in big time, big time, big time. But it's also a pretty standard thing to have Will-O-Wisp on a Greninjas, so I feel like he's going to expect that, and we'll just have to play it correctly, man. We'll really have to just play it correctly. So next up, we have Jester the Empoleon here. Now, Empoleon is going to be our Defogger and our Stealth Rocker. We're going to rock Scald and Flash Cannon on this. Max HP, max special attack, and 4 in the special defense stat here. Now, I'm really, like, Empoleon was a good pick for me. But I'm really on the fence about using Empoleon here just because of the fact that I feel like maybe it might be a little bit better for me to have some other Pokemon to kind of better cover what we have on our team. But maybe not, we'll see. Empoleon is pretty, I mean, it can be pretty bulky, it can be pretty annoying to deal with. Like I said, as long as we treat these things right, as long as we treat them right, Defog is going to be super clutch for us, because in the last battle, I actually let my Defogger die way too early, and I didn't have any hazards on my team. So now we have the Defogger and the Stealth Rocker on our team. This might even be a Pokemon that we lead with here, just to get those rocks up, because we are running actually max special attack. So the Scald is going to come, it's going to do some really surprising damage, I feel. When Nappy sees the Scald damage, he's going to be like, whoa, he set up rocks, but then he's got a Scald like that. Like, it's going to be, I'm hoping to catch him a little bit off guard, but I just have to really make sure that I use the Stealth Rocket and Defog correctly, so that we don't end up losing the Empoleon sooner than we should, like we did last week to the Mandibuzz with Defog. So that's going to be really clutch play for me if I can get it correctly. But the Flash Cannon takes care of the Gardevoir for sure, and you know, that's just another little thing, another type coverage that we have on our team, which is going to be really nice. So there's not much else to say about the Empoleon. Now, I do want to sit and talk about our last Pokemon here. Pokemon number 6, Warrior, the Hariyama. With the Flame Orb and the ability Guts, we're going to have Fake Out, Bullet Punch, Close Combat, and Knockoff on this bad boy right here. Max HP, max attack, and a little bit of spec into special defense here. Now, Hariyama is hands down one of my favorite Pokemon, and for a good reason. We have 2 priority moves, and the priority moves that we have here, of course, are going to be Fake Out and Bullet Punch. The Fake Out is going to do a ton of damage, followed up by the Flame Orb Guts boosted Bullet Punch is going to do a lot of damage. It's just going to hurt. And now we're not very fast, a base speed of 50, so that's why we have so much HP. That's why we're trying to max out our HP here. We should be able to take a hit, maybe 2, live it, come back with a Close Combat, or come back with a Knockoff, whichever one we calc or decide is going to do more damage. Honestly, depending on who it is, obviously, the Knockoff is going to bop the Gengar. The Knockoff is going to really hurt the Chansey, followed up with a Close Combat after that, because I can live anything a Chansey's got to give. The Knockoff is going to hurt the Gardevoir. The Knockoff is, honestly, nobody appreciates a Knockoff, but the Close Combat is going to follow up. It can hit the Cradily. It can hit the, what is it? It can hit the Lucario. It can hit the Crocodile. It can hit the Rotom. It can hit the Chansey. It can even hit the Gardevoir. If I want to, it can hit the Gardevoir. You know what I'm saying? It's going to do damage because Hariyama Flame Orb Guts boosted is just going to wreck house. Now, again, it's going to be one of those things where, you know, I've had a little bit of practice with it on Showdown, laddering a little bit, but of course, I've seen the damage that we can do with the Fake Out, followed up by the Guts boosted, the Flame Orb Guts boosted Bullet Punch. We're going to have that priority. We are going to be able to take care of the Gardevoir with the Bullet Punch probably alone. So as long as we can send out the Hariyama on a nice swap, we can Fake Out, we can follow up with a Bullet Punch, and that is going to be a ton of damage in those 2 turns. The Fake Out followed up by that Bullet Punch is going to do a ton of damage, especially to a Gardevoir. Now, I'm expecting him, I doubt he's going to leave the Gardevoir in, but I feel like the Gardevoir is going to be that Pokemon he tries to save for the very end and come through clutch with. If not the Gardevoir, then definitely the Gengar. But of course, with the Gengar, we also have Knockoff, which is nice coverage for the Gengar, as well as, you know, pretty much everything else on our team. So the only downside to our team, though, is looking at it, we don't have too many physically defensive Pokemon. We do have the Greninjas, who is naturally extremely bulky and, you know, physically bulky, which is really nice. But at the same time, it's one of those things where we're gonna have to play it really, really carefully and make sure that we hit really hard and we hit when we need to hit, because a lot of his Pokemon are special attackers. Gengar, Gardevoir, the Chansey, not technically a physical attacker, but it's probably gonna rock Body Slam or Seismic Toss. So that doesn't matter either way. The Rotom is special. The Crocodile is physical. The Lucario is physical. Now those two at the same time, I feel like we can take those just fine. I don't really see too many issues with the Lucario and the Crocodile being dealt with. As long as we can outspeed the Crocodile with here with Mage, the Alakazam, hit it with a Dazzling Gleam, hit it with an Energy Ball, done deal. We can outspeed the Lucario as well with Mage, Dazzling Gleam, Psychic, pretty much anything. Dazzling Gleam, Psychic, and Focus Blast all destroy Lucario, and that should be all she wrote for him. Gastrodon, pretty bulky, not really too, you know, not really too on the offensive side, so it's not really a big deal. Energy Ball on that shouldn't be an issue at all. Flygon is physical, but again, a nice Dazzling Gleam from Mage, or even a nice double edge from Altaria, from Mega Altaria, will do the work that we need to do. The Quillfish, not too worried about. We do have this Psychic on the Mage, and again, it's a lot of this is based on what we're gonna do with the Alakazam and with the Altaria here, but it's not the end of the world, though. Like I said, the Quillfish, I don't really expect him to bring the Quillfish, even though it is really annoying to deal with. I just don't expect him to bring it. The Weezing, I am 100% expecting him to bring, and that's why we want to make sure we can save the Psychic and just destroy his life with the Psychic on the Alakazam, so that'll be good. And then, of course, the Cradilly, again, not one of those Pokemon I'm really feeling that he will bring, but if he does happen to bring the Cradilly, like I said, we do have coverage for it. We do have the Scald. We do have the Fake Out Bullet Punch there, as well as the Close Combat to follow up with that. And of course, we also have Earth Power, and we have Ice Beam here on the Nidoking as well. So I'm not too worried about that. And then the Swellow. Now the Swellow, if he brings the Swellow, that could be an issue. However, Swellow is pretty paper thin. Like it's not a very bulky Pokemon. Let's just double check Swellow's base stats. Base HP stat of 60, base defensive 60, special defense of 50. So I'm really not too worried about the Swellow. He's gonna run that thing offensive. You're not gonna see a bulky Swellow. So honestly, you know, pretty much one attack from anything. I mean, a Fake Out Bullet Punch from Warrior here, you know, a Stab Scald, a Crit Scald from Jester here. Obviously, I don't think I'm gonna kill this thing with Graveyard, but you know, the Greninjas isn't gonna one shot a Swellow, but it's all right. Now Mage should one-shot it, because he does have a base special defense of only 50. So we should just, honestly, we should be fine. Swellow's not too physically defensive or especially defensive or just bulky in general. So honestly, we should be good to go. So hope you guys enjoyed this week 2 prep video for the Grand Canyon Greninjas taking on the Tucson Terrakions coming up tomorrow. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. But with that being said, you guys leave some other suggestions and comments in the comment section down below for either future battles or for this battle. What you think I could have done differently, and what do you think I should have planned for a little bit differently? You let me know in the comment section below. But with that being said, I hope you guys all enjoyed today's video. We will see you guys tomorrow for week 2 versus the Tucson Terrakions and the King Nappy. With that being said, though, it's been Twit, and I'm out. Peace.